Alright, gonna do a quick tutorial on the Liana Wallet. Basically, the one of the first functioning mini script wallets. And this is great, especially if you want to do any type of time lock wallet. If you want to do a decaying multisig, which is the term for basically you have a two or three multisig, but let's say after a year it may become a one of three multisig. A lot of people are scared, like, what happens if you lose two out of three of the keys and you have no backups? And like worst case scenario, you have something like this, or something like inheritance. You could say, oh, I have a two or three multisig, but what if I die? Instead of passing all this information about my multisig on to my family, after a year, it could become available to my wife's wallet, my son's wallet, a whole bunch of people's wallets, and they could have their own security completely outside of me. Currently, Liana Wallet only supports the Ledger, the Spectre, and the Bitbox in the newest version. Cold Card and Treasure is coming soon. And so let's go ahead and open it up and see what it looks like. When you open it up, it does run a prune node, so it's about 10 gigabytes of data. You could run if you have Bitcoin Core already installed in your computer and it's fully downloaded, 500 gig blockchain, you can link it to that. But if you don't, Liana will just download Bitcoin Core and run a prune node. So prune node is going to be very small, and it's constantly going to prune or delete old information it doesn't need. So to start on Liana, we're just going to go to install Liana on another network. By another network means Bitcoin Core. We got our create, we can participate or restore. So we're going to create. Now it's really easy to set up. You can add paths as you want. So let's stick with the most basic setup possible. The most basic setup is you're going to go ahead and add your primary key. So in this case, I have my ledger, which I am going to connect right now. So as soon as I connect it, it'll probably pop up. But I got to type in my PIN, which I'll type in right now. All right, type my PIN. There it is. Go ahead and select Ledger. And then I'll go ahead and label it. I'll call it Ledger. And then click Apply. All right. So what this means by primary path, this is the path to spend from your wallet. Okay. So if you're setting up a single public key hardware wallet, you're just going to have one key here. If you want to set up a multi-sig, just hit plus. You can hit plus again, and you could just add keys. You could say set. I can use the computer key and just call this, key 2. Every time you launch Liana, it's gonna pick a random number and generate a random mnemonic key for you to use if you want to use it. In this case, we're just doing a tutorial, so we're not using it. Obviously, in real life, you want to stick with the hardware wallet, but I'm just going to use it for tutorial purposes. And I had a bunch more saved here. These are all just random keys that I can use for my tutorial. And I'm going to call this one key number 3. If you had other hardware wallets, you would connect them and do it now. And you can see here I can hit up or down, 2 of 3. So really simple to set up. Now the recovery path. This is what happens after a certain amount of time. Now, this wallet uses check sequence verify, not check lock time verify. If any of you followed my old tutorial where I was using Electrum Wallet, whatever, that used check lock time verify. That's where you lock it to an actual date. This is just a number of blocks. So the maximum amount is 1 year, 3 months, and the minimum is 10 minutes. All right. Now this is actually good because check lock time verify, you can lock it till 100 years in the future accidentally. That's no bueno. The maximum you can do by setting it to lock for a certain amount of blocks is a year and 3 months. So that's actually pretty good. So let's say we want to lock it for a year. All right, I'm just going to put 52,600. 1 year, 40 minutes. All right, and I'm going to say, there we go, 1 year, 40 minutes. So what you hear about a lot currently is the decaying multisig. Decaying multisig is if someone wants to lower the threshold for their multisig. So in Liana, in order to do that, again, I just hit plus. I hit plus. And then these keys are already stored, so I can just hit set and then go to ledger and apply. And then of course it scrolls up for some reason, kind of annoying. Key number 2, apply. Alright, let's see if I can extend this. That's better. Key number 3, apply. and then take this down to 1. So this wallet, right, is going to be a wallet where at any point in time I can always spend with my 2 or 3 multisig. But after a year, if the worst case scenario comes up for whatever reason, you lose all your backups and you lose 2 of your keys and you're completely screwed. You're like, oh my gosh, I only have 1 of 3. Normally it'd be game over if you don't have the correct backups. Now with this, you can say after a year, you can actually spend with just 1 of those keys. So this is one particular option. Now another option is, what if you wanted to do something like inheritance? A good way to do inheritance is to say, you know what, after a year, this key, and I won't even call it key. Let's just call it key 3. We'll call it wife's key. You know, After a year, the wife can spend from my wallet. So if I set this up in January, and I die in March, yeah, my family's got to wait 9 months. But this alleviates all the pain of having to find a secure way to pass on all the access notes, where your seed words are, PIN codes for your hardware wallets, all this stuff that just may compromise your security. You don't even need to pass on. You just be like, look, if I die, you know, by the end of the year, you should have access, and you give them the appropriate information, which I'll show you, which is basically the wallet file, the wallet descriptor. That's really what you need. And make sure your wife, has the appropriate seed phrase or whatever. And again, you can add more recovery paths. What if, again, you have a multi-sig and your wife, but you and your wife both die in a car accident? Like that would suck. Well, you could add a spending path for key number 2. We'll edit this. Let's say this is your son. All right. So now here's an alternate spending path. So maybe 1 year and technically these can't be the same. If you make these the same, 52,600, it's going to give you like an error. So you could just separate them by 1 block. Do whatever. Add a 1. 1 year, 50 minutes. So they're virtually the same. All right. So this would mean if me and my wife both died in a plane crash, right? And in my will, I'm leaving it to my one and only son. He's the chosen one, the spoiled child. He still has access to his inheritance. Pretty simple. And again, you can go on and on. Well, what if my son dies? What if he didn't pay attention? And I thought he was orange pilled, but he really wasn't, and he's really an altcoiner, and he's shilling, Shiba Inu, and he lost his passphrase. Well, then you can add another recovery path. I mean, you can get as creative as you want, but obviously I don't want to get too crazy here. I'm just trying to keep it simple, but I'm just trying to show you how easy it is to set this stuff up. Now, for those of you that did follow my previous tutorial on what if you want to time lock your Bitcoin, just in general. Well, if you notice here, the lock is only on the recovery path. You cannot set up a lock on the primary spending path. So if you wanted to, let's X out, if you wanted to set up a wallet, right, like this. So let's say we add recovery path, and I say I want to do my ledger. But I only want to be able to spend after a year. I'm locking myself out, because I'm impulsive, and I want to make sure that as Bitcoin price goes up and down, I'm not even tempted. Like, this is automatic diamond hands, right? You can't do that. I've talked to Liana Wallet CEO and their head programmer on Twitter and messaged them about this, and they said it's possibly on the roadmap. I don't know. They hadn't considered setting up a primary path. So I'm hoping they add that. In the meantime, what you can do, though, like I showed you, is when you let the computer create a key, where's the computer key? This computer. That was the sun. If I click this, if we just go ahead and copy this, this is the pub key information. This is all you really need to hold on to. I got a billion public keys here. Let's just copy this to the end. It's this one here. I'm going to put a little ... I got so many public keys. All right. So basically what you do is you set up this as a key. And we're basically going to treat this as what we call an ephemeral key. So this is a public key that we don't know the private key to. What do you mean we don't know it? We don't know it because we're going to do this. Next. I'm not looking. Next. Boom. So never again will this wallet ever create that key again. It'll never show us those seed words again. These seed words literally are the only time they show it to you, and you just say, yeah, I backed it up. So you basically are going to say, no, I'm not backing it up. Now, if you don't trust Liana Wallet to basically create a public key that you don't have the private key to, you can create a public key 100 other different ways. You can use any other wallet. You can use my old tutorial, use coinb.in. You could just plug in any XPub. You just need to basically throw away the private key. And if you do that, then basically you have that condition where the primary spending path is unspendable, and you can only get access to it after a year. So that's if you want to do that. That was free. Just throw that out there. So the next thing you do is go to next, and we're going to ignore that. This is the descriptor. You hear all the time, you need to keep track of your XPubs. You need the wallet file. You absolutely need this file. Like, this is what you're going to need, especially if you pass this on to your loved ones. This is kind of like what you want to put in your will, so your loved ones can download Liana Wallet and reconstruct your wallet, which we will do next. We're going to just reconstruct a wallet that we already wrote this descriptor down. So you want to copy this, and you do want to back this up. And you want to say, I have backed up my descriptor, and then hit next. Next, it wants to register your hardware wallet. So by register your hardware wallet, and this is different because you've probably never done this before, because you don't have to do this on regular multisig. You don't have to do this on just regular, public key. You only have to do this with Miniscript, because Ledger needs to know what this spending policy is. This is a policy. See, it's difficult to read, but it says this is worked. This is SegWit worked script hash. There's an or statement. So you could spend either using this key or this key, right? This XPub or this XPub. But this XPub has an and in it. It has a condition. In order to spend using the second condition, you have to use this key, and you have to be older than 65,535 blocks. So this is an actual spending condition. So let me show you how to register that on the ledger, and I'll just go ahead and bring up a video. So let me go ahead and put my pin in again, because I set my ledger to timeout after 5 minutes. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click ledger. It says processing, check your device, and it comes up with all this information. See? And it comes up with all the information, gives the wallet policy. You can see the older, those are the blocks, and go ahead and hit approve. Alright, then it shows the first key. You can see the 5E86. Same here, 5E86. You can confirm the XPub 6EBDVA, XPub 6EBDVA. There's the whole XPub. Alright, then we hit approve. Alright, then here's the second key. The second key is right, starts here, C575A27. You can see that here, and you can confirm the public key. Hit approve, and that's it. That's all you need for the ledger to recognize your key. So you just say, yes, I've registered. You can skip this step if you want. You can always register it later, by the way. So go ahead and click next. Now, this is the option you generally want to have. This is the one where Lyanna does all the work itself. If you already have a Bitcoin Core node, you click this one and put in all the settings to connect to it. But if you want Lyanna to do all the work itself, just hit this option. Now, if it's the first time running, this is when it's going to download. It may take a day. So, it takes a while because it's got to download 10 gigs or more. I don't remember how long it took me the first time. Maybe I'll do a test later. But when it's done, then you'll be able to finalize. I'm recreating a wallet, so I don't have to redo the whole blockchain, So the wallet is really simple. It's very streamlined. You can see here there's a home button, And actually, before even showing you this, let's just load up a real wallet so that way you can actually see a balance. So, oh shoot, that's another thing. So Liana Wallet is so new that they still haven't included an option to delete the wallet. Once you create a wallet, if you're just playing around, you can't delete it. You can't create a new one. They didn't even put that option in there, which is kind of hilarious that they overlooked that, But it's not that hard. You just need to go to the folder. On Mac, it's stored in your users, your name, library, application support, Lyanna. Alright. Now there's a bunch of folders in here. Do not delete this one. Bitcoin D, that's the whole 10 gigabytes or more prune node. It's the actual Bitcoin folder. So if we just delete this, move to trash, right? And then we reopen Lyanna. See, the wallet's gone. we can create a new one. So I'm going to say install, and this time I'm going to do a restore. So here I'm going to copy and paste. Here's the wallet descriptor from earlier today, and I'm going to click next. And it says you were using a hotkey, which I was, so I'm just going to skip because I don't care. Here's the descriptor. If necessary, please select the signing device to register on. Now, because it's a brand new wallet, it wants me to re-register. So I'm going to do that real quick. I already showed you what it looked like. I'm just going to hit the same dang buttons. Approve, approve, approve. There you go. Now it's registered. And I click next. And I click select. And then go. Boom. There we go. All right. So why doesn't it show my balance? Now, here's an interesting thing. Is on a prune node only stores so much information basically at a time. As far as if we had put funds on this wallet, let's say 2 weeks ago, and you create this brand new wallet, right? And it's a prune node. It's only looking really, think of it as today onwards. So if you want to look backward in time, that's where you just kind of go to settings. And inside settings under Bitcoin Core, they have rescan blockchain. So when it says rescan, you have to be very careful. And I think they're going to add a message for this is when you scan backwards in time, you're also downloading. So if you scan to like January 1st, the whole rest of the year, it's going to download like 100 gigs. It's going to download everything back to that date. So for us, let's just go back like a day, So we're going to do 11. And day, we'll do the 14th and do start rescan. Alright, so it's going to go ahead and do a scan. Shouldn't take very long because it's just 1 day. Rescanning. There we go. Now let's go home. Sometimes it may not refresh. Let's see here. Rescan 100%. Let's try closing and reopening. Close, reopen. There we go. There's my balance. So it updated. Just needed to scan back. Now, another thing you'll notice, Liana Wallet doesn't have a password on it. I'm pretty sure they're adding that in the next option. So there's no password. Can't even put a password. So here's how it looks. This particular wallet, I did the main spending policy was the ledger, but then after 1 year and 3 months, there was another key. I think that's just an ephemeral key that I just made up. I let the wallet generate. So this is generally how it looks, and it shows you all your UTXOs here, and you could go ahead and label them and do stuff. To send, it's all pretty straightforward. If I'm going to send it to an address, you can add more payments. It shows you how much time until the recovery path becomes available. Receive. Remember, every receive address you create, so let's say I'm dollar cost averaging, and every 2 weeks I get paid, and I throw money towards this, right? And let's say the recovery path is for a year. I send funds to this address. It locks for a year as soon as it confirms on chain. In 2 more weeks, it's going to give me a different address. I'm always going to get new addresses, but they're all going to be locked relative to when they were. So over time, you're going to have all these UTXOs that say 1 year, 2 months, 28 days. And the next one will say 1 year, 2 months, 14 days. The next one will say 1 year, 2 months, 1 day. And then 1 year, 1 month, 14 days. They'll all be spread 2 weeks apart. And they'll literally unlock 2 weeks apart. So that's how it keeps track of it based off of, that time. So if, let's say, for instance, your main spending path was just your ledger, right? But after a year, it was your wife, inheritance, family, in case you die. Well, that means you need to make sure that you basically send the money back to yourself, like basically generate a new address here, send money back to yourself at least once a year. So if you do this wallet in January and you set it for a year, so on December 31st is when the inheritance becomes available, you need to make sure every December 1st you resend the funds back to yourself. So you like relock the coins. That's the one drawback of using this method is you do incur those extra fees, and you have that reminder, but that's kind of the trade-off. Lyanna does have it built in now, actually, which I didn't realize. If you just click the coin, so let's say it was approaching, so this would say expires in like 14 days. Well, instead of selecting the coin and sending it to yourself, you can just click refresh. That's basically the same thing, you know. And then let's say we were looking at the mempool, which every time I do a tutorial, the mem fee spike. I swear to God, these ordinals people, inscription people, are always trying to mess up my tutorials. But who cares? Let's set something really low, like 40. All right, say 40 sats per byte. And when I click self transfer, it automatically is selecting one of my addresses to send to myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and click next. All right, and again, the status says not ready. You know, finalizing this transaction requires one more signature from this guy, who's me. Let's see here. And you notice it's actually kind of interesting. It's grayed out. All right. Now the reason why it's grayed out is because it's not recognizing that the wallet was registered. Remember, because I added it from the backup. All right. So when you do that, it's like a brand new wallet. So we just need to register the wallet first. So to register, you just go to settings, you go to wallet, and just say register. Let's go ahead and register the wallet. Ledger needs to know about this information. Oh, it says it was registered. All right, let's try this and see if it works. Approve, approve, approve. Okay, so that's registered. And that's the C57. That's the ledger. And this is the temporary key if I want to update the names. So now I'm going to go back to coins and say refresh. And let's see, I'm going to send it back to myself. Click next. And it says, there's the ledger. It's not letting me sign from my own ledger. Select signing device to sign with. Well, now it's showing it. Alright. Liana Wallet's kind of funny. Alright. So let me turn on my video again so you can see this. Turn on video and record. And you can see here it says spending from known wallet. Wallet name, Liana. Approve. It's processing. Confirm self-transfer. So it even knows. It shows the fees, accept and send. Boom. That's it. Alright, so now it is signed. So I can just click off. And then if I want, I can click broadcast. But really, I don't want to broadcast it because I want to show you another way too. So you can see one coin spent. You know, is there any change? Oh, I did get some change. This is the change sent to myself. I don't want to broadcast this because it's not going to go through. 40? Will 40 even go through? Oh, yeah. It'll probably sit there for a week, you know. So I'll just ignore it. We can just ignore it. All right. So, again, that's an easy way to do it. If I wanted to, I can just go to receive, copy an address, go to send, and just paste in the address. That basically does the same thing as what I just did, you know. So there's two ways of doing it. In regards to if this is like, let's say your loved ones, you know, if your loved ones, let's say you died in February and they read your will, they copy and paste your wallet descriptor into Lyanna and they just see the countdown. Well, obviously they got to wait till the countdown's over. Once the countdown's over, though, you can't send, at least the way Lyanna has it structured now, you can't send from the regular send menu, you know, because once the recovery path is available, you got to go over here to settings and you got to go to recovery. And you basically put in the address and basically another wallet screen opens. So it all happens from recovery. But unfortunately, no recovery path is available. Maybe in this test, I should have done the recovery path for like 1 hour. That way I can do like a better demo. That would have been much better. But that's basically it. Let's see. I wrote down some notes here. Let's see. Another thing is, again, when you're playing with wallets, if we go ahead and quit this, if you go ahead and let's say you're like, okay, this wallet was dumb, move to trash, but you want to go back to this wallet, right? And you dragged it to your desktop and you drag it back. Now, sometimes you just open Lyanna and it'll just launch that wallet. All right, let's see what it does. See, it did it. Other times it won't do that. It may sometimes give you like a little error, which I was hoping to demo. If it does give you that, you know, you just have to go to Activity Monitor and you got to kill the background Bitcoin node. It's called Bitcoin D, and just kill that. and then launch Liana, and it'll work just fine. So that's just a little tip until Liana adds the ability to whatever. PSBTs is if you're, passing it around, or what if you're signing on a different, computer with Liana on one key, and then you go over here and you're signing with that wallet on the next key. So that's basically the gist of it. Again, you have so much flexibility on how you set up your wallet and what you want to do with it. Let's see, let's go back here and move to trash and open Liana, create, because you literally can do as many different recovery paths as you want. The one thing I would note is the more and more keys, the more complicated you make it, obviously your recovery path is going to get longer and longer and longer. All right. And the longer your recovery path is, this is a SegWit. This is currently implementing in SegWit, not Taproot. So that means your transactions is going to be a little bit more expensive, because you're going to have to send the whole whatever XPub. So for those of you that want to just do a plain time lock, you can just again set the first key to an XPub that you don't have the private key for. For those of you wanting to do a decaying multisig, you can do that. But just remember, it can be any order of keys. It could very well be that you have a 2 of 3, but after a certain amount of time, you want it to be a 1 of two completely different keys. And so you can get very kind of robust with how you mention that. And like I said, the only drawback is that you need to note and you need to rotate these UTXOs, because again, if I have, a 2 of 3 that decays to a 1 of 3 after a year, and after a year and 3 months it decays to my wife, and I just forget about it for like 5 years, well, all my UTXOs then are spendable by all of those paths. They're spendable by my 2 of 3, they're spendable by my 1 of 3, and they're spendable by my wife's key. You probably don't want that because it weakens your multisig. So you do have to again constantly put up those transactions, which will cost you money depending on how many UTXOs you have, depending on what the fees look like. If it costs $6, and you got to move whatever, you got to do 10 transactions, that may be $60 in fees. Now that may be a small price to pay depending on how much money you're securing and how much freedom this type of setup may or may not give you, but that's really up to you. So put in the comments any questions you may have. Again, Liana's growing constantly. I can't wait till they have cold card support, you know, and they're going to be supporting more and more wallets as we go on. But yeah, that's about it.